ground. It's a dizzying day. I would give a lot to get away. It's getting real dark in here. Feels like I've been here 1,000 years. Could you bring some light to me, or just sit beside me and never?
Coming out of the village now, through the farm, by the farm, and into the woods. I don't know if you can see that snow just there behind the truck. So it's not too far away, but it's not nearby either. That's the 9 o'clock bells. So I've got some knitwear on this morning, none of which I have knitted myself. You've seen these before probably. This is my beret that somebody knitted for me in French naturally brown yarn in a hat swap I've participated in. I knit the person a Dustlands hat by Stephen West. At the time I didn't have a clue who he was. And then I only realised a long time later that I had actually knitted one of his patterns. Got some mittens on that a dear friend knitted for me when we left Brittany. And I've got a little scarf on which my dear friend in Norway knitted for me, again as part of a swap. So yeah, I'm not seems to be I don't really knit very much of my own things. Oh, here comes the tattoo. Alright. Alright. Ooh. Through practice, I know they're not gonna bite me, but they're a little bit intimidating. Going off into the woods now. I like this part of the walk. Can't seem to focus on my face. So patous are the French, well no, actually Occitan. So Occitan is the historical language of southern France, and here they speak a version of it called Gascon, and that's from Bordeaux down south, but each valley has its own dialect, and there's a difference between the Occitan that they teach in schools nowadays, which is more like a literary Occitan. It's like they've picked a version of Occitan and then they teach that version all over the southern part of France. There are some public schools where they teach Occitan like once a week as a kind of an introduction. There's some schools where they're bilingual, so the children have part of their day, part of their lessons in Occitan and the rest in French. And there's some which are called calendrettes, where they speak entirely in Occitan. So there's a calendrette in our nearest town, and our neighbour son actually has been going to that school, and now he's in college, which is the secondary school, from the age of 11, and he has his main lessons in French, which will be a change for him because previously he'd even been doing maths in Occitan, but now he also has extra lessons in Occitan, so some of his lessons will, like history I think, will be in Occitan. Anyway, I was talking about dogs. So patous are big white Pyrenean dogs. You've probably just saw, they're quite imposing, and they are bred especially for sheep, as guard dogs for sheep. They are, as soon as they're born, the puppies are left to grow up with the sheep, so they develop this protection instinct to guard the sheep. And what are they guarding the sheep from? Well, traditionally, brown bears. There are still some brown bears in the Pyrenees, but sadly the native Pyrenean bears were hunted to extinction. They started a program of reintroduction in the early 2000s, and it's a very, very divisive issue. When I first lived here, 2009, 2010, sorry, during my studies, I had to pick a subject, a local subject to where I was living. Sorry, I'll just explain. So I'm British. I was studying French at university in Bristol, and as all language students, we have compulsory year abroad in our third year, and I spent mine here in the Pyrenees. I was a teaching assistant, so I spent a lot of my time helping out as a classroom assistant in a small infant school with only about 25 pupils in total, so they were all mixed ages, which is exactly what it's like at my children's schools. And I was teaching English as well. Anyway, I decided to pick the subject of the brown bears, and at the time it was a really, really divisive issue. It's probably still just as divisive, but it was not long after there had been some more reintroductions of bears from Slovenia, and my take on it was, what do these debates and these this violence actually, what does that tell us about the state of the Pyrenees here right now? Who owns the Pyrenees? Is it the ski stations? Is it the walkers? Is it the ecologists? Is it the farmers? And I found it really interesting, and I had the opportunity to go, and I organised to meet people from the national park, from the farming community, from the local sort of ecologists. It just so happened that there was some films made, there was some books that were written at the time. Everything sort of happened around that time, so it was a very present topic. It still is, as I said. You still get, like on the Tour de France routes, you'll get graffiti on the road saying "Non à l'ours," no to the bears. So yeah, it's interesting, and it sort of shows that bears have always been on my mind. I wasn't making bears back then, but at that point I was having a break. But yeah, it's funny that bears have always been there. So I'm gonna continue with my walk. I've walked half an hour and I'm feeling okay, so I'm gonna attempt a little bit of uphill in the woods, and then I'll be back home for a barley coffee, I think. So yeah, see you in a bit. So this is the church garden, and the war memorial is looming. I'm walking towards the war memorial, and the flags are out because it was recently the 11th of November, which in France is actually a public holiday, a bank holiday, so it's taken very seriously, but it's only to commemorate the First World War, whereas in the UK the 11th of November commemorates all the different wars. So this is the war memorial from the front. So war memorials in France are really interesting. They tell you a lot about how people viewed war at different times depending on when they were made. So this one was made in between the First and the Second World War. And there's two things that are interesting. Firstly, you can see on here the three crafts that are associated with the valley. So there's stonemasonry, or the quarry of the marble, or it's wood, I'm not quite sure. Coming around here we have butter making, and here in the middle we have spinning, and this spinner is wearing the traditional dress of the valley at the time. She's got a cap on her head which was made of wool. She's got a woolen skirt, and over the top is a linen overskirt that's fairly brightly coloured. She's holding her distaff and she's spinning on her spindle, and it's a bit difficult to see, but she's, that's better. You can see her spinning long draw from her supported spindle, and the sheep in the background would be the local sheep breed which originates from this valley, which is called the Campanoise or the Hors Campin, depending which side of the mountains you're from. And then above we have the really striking part, which this is called La Pleureuse. So this figure is, can't see very well, it's representing a woman from the valley. She's wearing her traditional clothes, which would have been black because she's in mourning, but she has no face. And this is one of the only war memorials in France where the woman has no face, which my children find it a little bit scary. I probably would have at their age. But I think the idea is to really show the human suffering, the domestic suffering, the female suffering of all those who were left behind. So it's bringing out the feminine part of the loss of war. And yeah, this war memorial is very striking, and it is quite well known amongst people who are interested in war memorials. And actually I had a professor at university whose PhD had been written about war memorials in France. St. Joseph. There we go. Right, time to go home.